Hey everyone, thanks for trying to learn to play games. My name is Lance, and in today's video I'm going to be playing through one of the scenarios in the campaign for a brand new game headed to Kickstarter, and that is Vrahode, The Age of Prophecy. This is a brand new game from Weathervane Games. It is a 1 to 4 player game that takes roughly 1 to 2 hours to play, and is a fully cooperative game where all the players are working their way through a campaign of scenarios. And as they do, they're going to discover the mystery of what is going on in this world. So in the world itself, you are going to be playing a number of different characters and different races that have come together to handle certain situations. And the basic backstory to this is one of your friends, Shroon, has been kidnapped or captured or something. You don't know. You woke up in camp and rushed to see a scene of blood and viscera and everything else all over the floor, and you found one of his stones that he uses on one of his items. And the village leader, more or less, is working against you as it is and has sent you off on this mission to find out what is going on. And that is where I am going to be picking up, more or less. My two players are going to be making their way through this campaign. Now, I've already gone through a couple of the missions, and now I'm ready to move into the third mission, which is the message. And this one is going to have 2 separate parts that I'm going to be playing through in this game to show you a better idea how this one plays and progresses, help you decide on whether or not it's the one you want to back on Kickstarter. As always, if you find my videos helpful, if you like what I do, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing to my channel. It's one of the easiest ways you can support channels like mine so we continue to grow, build and produce this content. If you want to stay up to date on all my videos, also hit that notification bell and I'll let you know whenever I drop new stuff. Now, before heading into the video, I do also want to point out that all the materials here are prototype materials and are subject to change and look a lot better than the final production copy of the game. So let's go ahead and head to the table and we'll see how this one plays. Alright, so moving into this one, again, I've chosen to play 2 different characters. I have Adara, and she is going to be more of my offensive / defensive character. She has a lot of mitigation, so she's going to be able to take some decent punishment and hopefully mitigate a good portion of that. And then I have Wyrich here, and he is going to be more of a rogue character, so he has a short bow, so he's going to hopefully be able to use that to pepper off the enemies from a distance, keeping him safe as he is a little bit more squishy and doesn't have as much mitigation. So with that being said, this scenario is going to be broken down into, or this particular video is going to be broken down into 2 parts, scenario A and scenario B of this particular mission. And so I'm going to go ahead and start off by beginning with scenario A, and with this one it says, entering the Horde one feels like stepping into another world, with its dim pillar and eerie hush. There are no signs of the shrieks, but you know many other threats sulk hidden within this canopy, not to mention those which sniff among those gnarled trunks. You quicken your pace and follow the trail to a place along a deep, fast-moving creek where you find a bit of good fortune. A group of Rongora are here munching on the undergrowth. Of all the forest creatures in Torlin at camp have named to you, the Rongora are the only ones you'd be happy to see in this moment. They are described as docile and trusting and can be approached by a careful and calm wanderer. They can serve as a walking food supply thanks to the various mushrooms growing on their backs. After a day you've had, you could use a meal. You slowly approach the nearest Rongora and it turns to face you. It makes a low rattling croak and that doesn't sound particularly friendly. The rest of the group joins the chorus and begins closing in. So apparently these are not the friendly Rongora we were hoping for. And so based on the different number of players is going to be the number of enemies we face. So in my game, I'm going to be facing 2 Rongora as I have 2 separate heroes that I'm going to be playing. And so I'm going to be pulling those out and I'll place out their enemy boards. So each one of them is going to have, let me grab their card as well. All right, so each one has 2 actions, or can trigger their ability 2 times during their turns. And then each one of them is going to have a total of 20 health to start off with. Oof. So it's going to take a little bit to chew through these guys. So we'll see how this goes. All right, and I will have 1 be green and 1 purple. And this is totally up to you. These are more for differentiating between different enemies if they have a particular ability or whatnot that differs from one to another. I just like using it just to keep track of the ones that are out there. Now with these guys, these are large enemies, so they're going to take up 4 entire spaces. So I'll just kind of set them next or in those spaces and then place the markers over them. So they're going to take up quite a bit. From there, then I'm going to deploy my adventure starting on that space there, and I'll place Wyrick up in the corner there. And from there, I'm ready to move into it. So during this scenario, my first goal is to eliminate the enemies that are out there and stay alive. So we'll see how that goes. Now with that, at the beginning of each round, I'm going to be drawing initiative tokens from the bag to determine when the enemies and my characters activate. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with Eldara to take the first one. And at the beginning of each, beginning of this scenario or mission, I'm going to also have to lose 1 fatigue for each one of my characters. So they're each at 1 at this point. All right. And so Eldara has 9. The green one is at 11. Next, the purple one is going to be at 4. Ooh. And finally, Wyrich is going to be he's at 1. All right. Now, another important thing to point out is that once the initiative tokens have been placed out, if depending upon how characters feel about that, if I need one character to go first or whatnot, the characters can choose to spend 2 fatigue to take one of the tokens from the bag that has not been drawn and replace the one that they have. So for example, with Eldara, if I really wanted her to go after Wyrich, then I could spend the 2 fatigue and take the number 2 out of the bag so that they go one after the other, and then the enemies would follow suit. But obviously at this point, there really isn't a lot of benefit to that. All right, so first off, it is going to be Wyrich to go first. So I'm going to start and get ready for this battle. So I'm going to use one of my racial abilities, and I'm going to choose the Forest's Fury. Another important thing that I do have to point out with Wyrich here is that he has a racial trait which makes him immune to knockdown, and he gets +1 mitigation in forest battles. That's why I pointed that out. So I'm going to actually bump his mitigation up to 2 for this battle. And then, like I said, I'm going to do the Forest Fury. So this one is going to add +1 range to his ranged attacks, and it's going to allow him to do 1 extra damage on physical ranged attacks this battle. So throughout this entire battle now, he's going to be doing an additional point of damage, hopefully, with his arrows, depending upon how those come up. Now, I could choose to move as well if I wanted to, as each character has up to two actions that that character can take. You can use them to move around, you can use them to attack, do an ability or whatnot. Now, an important thing with that is that you can only, with the action, you can either attack, use one of your racial abilities, or use one of your skills by spending rule to activate that skill. Now, you're only allowed to do one of those things out of those 3 options. And then, like I said, you can also move with certain characters depending upon what you have equipped, such as with Wyrich. He actually has a bow, so you can fire range weapons twice in your turn. You just can't move on top of that. So there's a number of things that your character can do. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with him. And so that is just going to be, his token will be placed back in the bag now, as I'm not going to move with him. There's no point in getting closer to the enemies at this point. So then it's going to move over to the Rongora. And with the purple one, it's going to be next. And so with them, they each have a movement normally of 5. So they can move into 5 spaces. Now, each one of them has a ability that it can trigger up to 2 times. This ability is Thundering Charge. So this allows them to rush at their target, adding +2 to their normal movement, so that lets them move up to 7 spaces, and do 6 base damage plus knockdown. A success roll required, so they have to actually succeed in rolling to do that, and then they may not be adjacent to the target, and the action requires normal movement, or replaces normal movement. All right, so with purple, I would have to move, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it could make it. So it's going to have to roll to determine if it'll be able to use its action. So it's going to roll its modifier die. If it rolls a -2 or -3, that means it's not going to do that and just will move and try to do its regular action. Otherwise, if it rolls anything else, it will try to do that. All right, so it did roll a +1, so it's going to go ahead and move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now, an important thing with that is normally all movement is done orthogonally, except for you can do one diagonal movement either at the beginning of your movement or at the end of your movement, but all other movement has to be done orthogonally. So that's why I was able to move diagonally across here. Well, the other enemy is there. Okay, so yes, the Rangora can move through its friendly spaces, so it would be able to do that. All right, so it's going to spend one of its charge actions then, and then it's going to hit my character here. So from there, it has to roll and succeed. So its attack stat is 14. So if I roll a 14 or less on the d20, then the attack is successful. So let's see what happens with that. And it's a 15. All right, so it missed. Thank goodness, because that also had a +3 to it. So it would have ended up doing 6 damage +3. So it would have done 9 damage on that charge. So that would have been absolutely brutal to start the round with. So I got very lucky there, as they normally don't miss very often. All right, so that is my turn, or that is its turn. And it wouldn't do the knockdown either since the attack failed. So then it is going to move over to Eldara next, and she's already adjacent to it. So let's see here. I am going to go ahead and move over. And I'm going to go ahead and try to attack it. So now with Eldara, she has 2 different types of it, or 2 different attacks. She has a short sword, and she also has a shield that she can do a shield bash. Now the shield bash is not going to roll the modifier die. It's simply going to either be a hit or miss, and will simply do 1 damage to the enemy. So I'm going to go ahead and do the shield bash first and see if I can succeed. With her attacks, all of hers are melee attacks, so she's going to use her body stat to determine if she's successful or not. And right now her body stat is 12, so she just needs a 12 or less to score a hit. All right, so the first one's a 20, so that is a fail. She almost dropped the shield, I think. And then her regular attack is going to use both. And it's a 2 with a +1. So her regular attack with her short sword does 5 base damage. And then she rolled a +1 to that, so that's going to modify it up to a 6. And then I'm going to reduce that by the Rangora's mitigation. So its mitigation stat is 3. So 6 minus 3 is going to be 3 damage. So it is going to be down to, whoop, it's the purple one. And so it's going to be down to 17. All right, so that is her turn, as she's done everything that she can do at this point. And then it's over to the other Rangora. So at this point, the other Rangora would not be able to get in there, as there's this wall here. So the best it can do is move up. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So it's going to try to move over here. Now this space, these 2 spaces aren't full, as the other Rangora is in these spaces here. So it's going to go ahead and end right there. And that's all it can do at this point. So that is the end of the round. So then it's going to start a new round where we're going to redraw our initiatives and see what comes up here. All right, so first off, Eldara has a 5 this time, okay. The green has a 7. Purple is at, whoop, too many. Purple is at 3. Oh boy. And Wyrich is at 11. Okay, so he's going later on in the turn this time. All right, so first off, it'll be purple to go. So purple is going to try to do that ram again, because purple could back up and then move forward again. So it is going to try to do that. So it'll move back. Let's see. And just charge forward again. So it's going to go ahead and do its roll. And it is a 3 at +1. All right, so the question is, that would be 7 damage. And a knockdown. Yeah, I think I can handle that right now. I was debating, I do have some abilities that I could try to do to cause that to miss, but +1, not terrible. As she has that mitigation of 5, she is going to mitigate 5 points of that and will take 2 damage from that. Now, unfortunately, it does knock her down as well, so that's not good. And then with the other one would go. And again, it looks like it is not going to, it cannot get in there, as it would take up more spaces than are out there because of the wall here. So it would not be able to get in there. So it's going to just hold off for the time being. And, whoop, that was a 7. So actually she gets to go first before it gets to go. So she's going to stand up as her first part of her turn. That'll take her for one of her actions. So then she can either attack or try to use one of her abilities if she wanted to. So I think I am going to go ahead and I think I'm going to use one of my abilities. As much as I would love to attack, I think this might be very helpful to me. So I'm going to go ahead and do the Blade of the Warlord. So this is going to cost me 1 rule. So I'll add 1 rule over here. And then it says add bleed effect to this hero's cutting weapon this battle. So whenever I use my sword, I could potentially cause bleed. And bleed is going to basically to give that character or whatever enemy suffering from it 1 wound per turn for 3 turns. All right, so that is her turn, so that'll go away. Now the green Rangora is going to go. And again, it is kind of stuck there. So I think that's going to hopefully work out in my favor. From there, then it is going to go over to Wyrich to go next. And Wyrich at this point, I still haven't done anything with him as far as shooting. But I think I'm going to go ahead and spend a rule to do his Savage Mantra. So this allows this hero to double their physical attacks for the next 2 rounds and do +1 damage on each attack. So he's just kind of building up at this point to hopefully do some serious damage coming forward here. All right, so we're ready to start a new round. So Eldora is at 9 again. And then the Rangora are at 12. All right. And the other one is at 4. And then finally, Wyrich is going to be at 8. All right. So, and the purple one did do its second charge, so it is out of charges at this point. So then it's just going to do straight regular attacks. All right, so purple is going to go ahead and attack Eldora there. So it is going to hit at -3. So -3, it does 4 damage base. -3 is only 1 damage. She would mitigate 5, but you can never mitigate all of the damage. So as long as the attack is successful, you're always doing something. That's true for both heroes and enemies. So she is going to take 1 damage from that. All right, so that is purple. Then it is going to go over to Wyrich to go next. So now he has those 4 shots that are going to do +2 damage. Now his arrows do 3, so he can potentially do some decent damage here depending upon what comes up. And he's going to go ahead and target purple. Well, I might want to actually start working on green at this point, since green still has those 2 charge abilities. If I can take green out first, it kind of keeps it at bay at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and try that. I'm going to shoot at green. So first off is 11 at -1, so I was successful. Unfortunately, it was -1, so it's going to do 4 damage, and the Rangora mitigates 3 of that, so it's only going to take 1, and that's green, so that green is going to be at 12, or 19 this time. So there's that, and that was my first shot, so I have 3 more. Second shot is an 8 at +1. All right, so now I'm doing 6 damage. So I'm going to do 3. So 1, 2, 3. So it's down to 16. This is the third shot is a 19 at -2. So nothing there. And the final shot is a 14 at -1. So again, not enough, as I needed a 12 because I'm using focus for ranged abilities. It's his focus skill. So 2 hits and 2 misses. All right, so that is his turn. Then it's over to Eldara. She is going to go ahead and do her shield bash. And it's a 9, so this time it is successful, doing 1 damage. And then she is going to go ahead and try her sword at -1. So it is a hit. So it's going to do just 1 damage to purple. But it is going to cause bleed on purple. So I'll put a stack of 3 there. All right, so that is her turn. Now it is going to be green, and green is, yeah, stuck. So nothing there. So I think green is just going to have to forego its turn. All right. So it is back to a new round here. So she drew a 7 onto the Rangora. I have a 3 with green. I have a 5 and a 9. All right, and again, I don't really want to spend the focus at this point. If they were down to a couple of hit points, I would probably do it, but they're still pretty high, so there really isn't a point. And green, again, is just kind of holding on there. I believe I'm doing that right. I hope I'm doing that right. And then it's going to be over to purple. Purple is on Eldara, so it's a 17 plus 2, but it's a miss. So I got lucky on that one because that would have probably done a little bit of damage. So that is green, and it is going to take a wound, or purple, for the bleed. And then it is over to her turn to go next. So she's going to again do the shield bash. And it is a hit, so purple takes another wound. And then she's going to do the short sword. And it's a 1. All right, so she rolls a critical. So with a critical, that is going to bypass the enemy's mitigation. So normally an enemy is going to mitigate a certain amount. So with the Rangora, they mitigate 3 points of damage, but the critical bypasses that. So unfortunately, I rolled a -1, so not the best, but that's all right because I'm doing 5 damage -1, so it's 4 damage. The Rangora would normally mitigate 3 of that, meaning I only do 1, but because of the crit, I'm doing 4 damage to it instead. So it's going to be down to 9 hit points from that. And she adds the bleed effect to this hero's cutting weapon. All right, and I think, what is the max with the bleed? I think you can have a couple on there. So bleed causes 1 damage per turn to a target. This effect may be stacked up to a maximum of 6 times. All right, cool. So I'll add another set of 3 to it. All right, and that is her turn, as she has done all that she can do. Then it's over to Wyrich to finish us off. So again, he's going to go ahead and take those 4 shots onto green. All right, so his first one is a 2 at +3, so that is very successful and is great. So he's going to do 8 damage minus the 3 mitigation, so he's doing 5 damage on that one. So that was a huge shot. That's the best he's done yet. All right, so then it's second shot is a 10 at +1, so another hit doing 3 damage. So he's going to put him down to 8. So some good shooting so far. Third shot is a 14 at +1, and final shot is a 10 at +1. All right, so this time not bad. So it's another 3 damage. 1, 2, 3. So it's down to 5 hit points. So I've been making some good progress on these guys. All right, that is everybody. So now he is out of that ability, so he'd have to spend more rule to activate that again, and at this point, use another turn. And all his stuff seemed to fall over there. All right, so initiative, all right, is a 7. Then on to green. is a 10. With purple, it's a 3. And he draws a 4. All right, so with him only being 1 point away, I can make a test here. So it's, let's see, I think it is, he can do a mind test. So once per battle after being successfully, nope, that's not that one, presence. So he can do a presence test. So after drawing initiative tokens for a round, if an enemy is numerically adjacent to a hero's initiative, that hero may trade initiative tokens with the enemy with a successful presence roll. So my presence is a 6. So I don't have a real good shot at this, but maybe. And it's 11. Okay, so no luck. But if I would have gotten a 6 or less, I would have actually traded initiative, so I would have gone before the enemy. So that would have been kind of cool. All right, so that is going to be purple first. So purple is going to attack Eldara, and it's a 9 at +3. Ooh, okay, so that was a big hit. And that would do 7 damage. She's going to mitigate 5 of that. So that is going to do 2 damage to her. So she is down to 11 at this point. All right, that is, and it's also going to take 2 damage, 1 for each one of the bleeds on it. So that'll bring it down to 7 hit points. All right, so over to Wyrich next. He's going to go ahead and take 2 shots on green. So first one is a 1 at -2. So he's going to do 2 damage to it because normally his arrow does 3 damage. He gets +1 for the Forest Fury. This is -2, so it's doing 2, but it bypasses its mitigation, so it's going to do 2 damage to it. So it is down to 3 hit points. And the last shot is a 16 at +3. Oh, man, that would have been great. Okay, so that is it for his shot. And then it's going to move over to Eldara. So she's going to go ahead and use the sword first on purple. Is a 6 at +1. So she's going to do 6 to it. And it's going to mitigate 3. So it is down to 4 hit points. And it's going to take more bleed. All right. And then a shield bash is also successful. So down to 3 hit points. All right. And that is her turn, so then it's over to green that can't do anything either. It's just going to hold out there. I got to check and make sure when bleed actually triggers. 1 damage per turn to target. This effect may be stacked in order to... Okay, and that'll trigger at the beginning of the turn. Okay. So then we're on to initiatives again. So let's see what happens here. So Eldara is an 8. Green is going to be a 9. Purple is a 2, and Wyrich is a 12. Ugh. Okay. So at this point, all right, I think that is it. So I'm going to let purple go first. So purple, at the beginning of its turn, is going to take 3 damage from the bleed effects that are going to come off of it. And that is enough to take it down, as that is all it had left. So I'll go ahead and remove that. And that one goes away. Okay. So I'll remove those bleeds. All right, so then it is over to Eldara next. So she's going to go ahead and move for her first action so she can get up and adjacent to green. And she's going to go ahead and attack it. So her attack is a 7 at +3. So she is going to take that one down as well. And that worked out really well for her. All right. So both of those guys are gone. And at this point, I think with Wyrich, I'm going to go ahead and do his turn. So I'm going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then that is the end of the round. So then we're going to go to a new round. And it's an 8. and a 5. So I'm just going to move up one more here, and then I'm going to let her move up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just going to go here. And then I'm going to go ahead and rest. Now that the enemies have been defeated, I'm going to go ahead and rest at the end of this scenario before I move on to scenario B. So once I get to this second point here, that's going to, the initiative in scenario B begins once scenario A is completed and when the first hero enters the space. So now that I've defeated all the enemies, once I move into that space, that is going to trigger the scenario B part of that, where I'm going to have to eliminate those enemies as well. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do a rest action. So I'm going to go ahead and lay my heroes down. I am going to keep Weirich on watch as he's pretty much at full health, more or less. He's only taken a couple of hit points from the previous encounter. So I'm going to go ahead and put him on watch just in case, as the rest deck does have some ambush cards in it that can trigger an ambush to show up where a creature will come up and attack them. And if both players or all the characters are sleeping, then the creature is going to show up right next to him, get a free attack. So that could be really bad while I'm trying to heal back up. So let's see what happens here. So I have Restful Sleep. So it says, you are weary from another long day of adventure, and slumber overtakes you quickly and soundly. Heroes who rest receive +2 rule, so she'll get her rule back. She's going to get -2 fatigue, which I only had the 1 fatigue, and -2 damage, so she's going to be back up to 13. All right. In between each time I reveal a card, I can shuffle this deck back up and try continue to go. And I can also switch out characters or put both characters at rest or whatever I want to do here. So I'm going to go ahead and rest again. So it's another restful sleep. So I'm going to get +2 rule, and I'm already at 0 fatigue. So I'm just going to kind of get that life back up at this point. And I think as my last, or I'm going to do one more. I'm going to also go to sleep with Weirich and risk it. So this we'll see what happens here. If I draw one now, I'm in trouble. All right, so this is restless sleep. So your sleep is plagued by nightmarish visions of the horrors that you have faced in your travels. Heroes who rest receive +1 rule, -1 fatigue, and +1 health. So I'll be at that and that. All right, and I think I'm going to hold there because I'm pretty good at this point. All right, so both of my characters will wake up. And the initiative is going to be reset as soon as one of my characters moves on here. So question is, who do I want to go first? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, I'm going to draw initiative first, so we'll see what happens with this. So it's a 5 and a 2. So I'm going to go first with Weirich. I'm going to move over here. And then with her turn, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as each one of these dotted lines, again, is difficult and it requires 2 movement points to move into. And she has a movement of 6, so I have to stop there before I get into that. All right, so then it is over to a new round of initiative. So she drew a 10 and a 6. All right, so I'm just going to pass on my turn, as there's no point in doing anything at this point, because as soon as I move on to 2, that's when scenario 2 starts. So then all my skills are going to have to be reset anyways. All right, so she's going to go next. So she's going to step into 2, and that is going to trigger that second part here. So it says, you can't remember ever working so hard for your food and believe you've had your fill for the time being. But as you cross the creek, you see that the feast has just begun. You just hope that you're not the main course. A Nocturgia with talons like daggers and a disposition to use them looms on a low-hanging branch. Blood splattered across large rock face behind the giant bird of prey that doesn't increase your confidence. But a glimmer in the darkness pulls your attention to a lower ledge along the creek, where you could swear you see a glinted band wrapping the lid of a small wooden chest. You blink your eyes twice to make sure you weren't imagining it, and sure enough, it's still there. You decide you'd be doing yourself and Shern a disservice if you don't find out what's inside. But the creek is rising and may wash your treasure away at any moment. Emboldened by this new enticement, you step off the log and ready your weapon. Okay, so with that, it's going to, with 2 players, I'm going to have a Rangora and a Nocturgia. So Nocturgia is like a giant owl bear with wings, more or less. And so let's go ahead and load that one up first. So it's going to have up to 2 ability actions, and it also has 15 health. So I'll go ahead and set that. And then the Rangora, again, is going to have 20 health and 2 abilities. All right, and the initiative is going to be set again. So with the Nocturgia, it is going to start here, and it is in flight. So the Nocturgia flies, and so it will be able to go up, and so melee attacks can't hit it when it is flying, and then it'll drop back down and try to attack heroes. But if it ever has more than 1 hero around it, it'll go back into flight and try to get away and try to isolate one of those heroes again. All right, and then the Rangora is going to be next to that initiative there. All right, and then it is over to my characters to go. So let's see what we get here. All right, so first off with Eldara, she pulls a 5. Then the Nocturgia is up next, and it's a 6. Oof. All right, the Rangora is a 7. All right, and finally, Rich is a 1. Wow. Okay. So Rich is going to go ahead and move. So there's 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to go ahead and activate his racial ability to give him +1 range and +1 damage with Fury, Forced Fury. And that is his turn. So Eldara is up next, and that treasure is sitting right there, and it is limited as the water is racing and there's a chance that it could be washed away. So it's a bonus objective: move 1 hero adjacent to the treasure chest by the end of the 3rd round of the scenario B to gain the treasure before it washes away. So I may want to do that. She has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then she could move there for 6, and she'd be adjacent to the Nocturgia. That doesn't really help her overall, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do it. That way then I am at least not having to worry about that treasure. So I go ahead and pick up the treasure, and that is my move. And then as my ability, that bleed was super helpful last time. So I may want to do that again as well for her. Yeah, let's do that. So I'm going to spend the rule, and I'll activate the Blade of the Warlord. So that'll add a bleed effect for her. All right, that is her turn. So now it is over to Nocturgia to go. So it is going to try to use its ability. So this is Stunning Strike. The action causes 6 base damage plus knockdown, and it is going to have, it causes a random affliction to the target. So let's see if it tries to do that. And it's a +3, so it does. So it's going to spend one of its abilities. And then it has to roll to hit. So it needs a 14 or less. And it got a 9 at -2. So it does pull off the ability. And that's bad news for me. So I am going to... It's going to do -2, so it's doing 6 base damage. -2 is going to be 4 base damage. I mitigate everything but 1 point of that, so that's not too bad. But it is also going to knock me down, and it causes a random affliction. So on my affliction table here, let's see what I roll. It's a -2, so Sangus causes -2 movement, cured by consuming carrion liverwort. All right, so I don't have that at this point, so I'm going to, she is going to be -2 movement for this, for the moment, or for this time. So I'll just drop her movement down to 4 so that I remember. All right, and that is its turn. And it does land to be able to pull that off so that it can attack her. So I'll just move its flight thing away. And then the Rangora is up next. So Rangora is also going to try to use its ability. And a -1 is going to trigger it. So it's going to slam into her as well. I knew this was coming. So we'll see. Hopefully not a good roll on this. It's a 9 at +3. Ooh, and she's down. Because she's being knocked down, she's -1 to her mitigation when she's prone. I could force a reroll and try to prevent that. So with that, I would need to do a mind test. So once per battle, after being successfully targeted by an enemy action, a hero may perform a mind roll. If the roll is successful, they simply resist the action. Yeah, let's go ahead and try it. So I'm going to need, so otherwise it's going to be a successful hit. My mind is a 7, so a 7 or less, and I pull it off. And it's a 1. Oh, man. So I canceled the attack. Oh, that was a big one. Because otherwise it would have done 9 damage. She would have mitigated 4 of it, so she would have taken 5 points of damage from that one. So that would have been a big hit. So I'm glad that that worked out, and it's a once per battle, so that was great. All right, that is everybody. So back to a new round of initiatives. Let's see what we get here. All right, so Eldora is a 5. Nocturgia is a 10. Rangora is a 7, and Wyrich is going to be a 3. All right, so he is going to actually go first. So I'm going to go ahead and move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm just going to kind of hang on up there, and I'm going to go ahead and spend the rule to activate my Savage Mantra again. So that will allow me to, again, double my physical attacks for the next couple rounds. So I'm kind of getting ready for that, and Eldora is going to stand up as her first action, and as her second action, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attack the Nocturgia since it's down. I'm going to do my blade attack first, and it's a 1 at -1, so I do hit, and it's a critical, so again, it will not get its mitigation. I do 5 damage, -1, so I'm doing 4 damage to it. So it is going to be at 11 now, and it also suffers bleed. Okay, and then I'm going to try to shield bash as well, and that is also successful. So it is down to 10 hit points. That was a great round so far. All right, so over to the Rangora. It is, again, is going to try to do its charge, and it's a -3, so it's not going to do that. So it's simply going to do a regular attack. It's a 12, and it is a hit, so it is successful, and it is going to do 7 damage to her. She mitigates 5 of it, so she'll take 2, so she's down to 13 now. And then it's over to the Nocturgia next. So again, it's going to try to do its ability. And it's a -3 as well, so it's not going to do it and just do a regular attack. And it's a 15 at -3. So it is also going to fail, as it normally needs a 14 or less. All right, so that is the enemy's turns. All right, so new round. Let's see what happens here. So Eldora is a 6. Nocturgia is a 2. Oh boy. All right, and Rangora is a 3. Oof, lots of low ones this time. And Wyrich is 11. Oof. All right, so I could spend some fatigue. He's going to be firing twice, so, or 4 times. So yeah, I think I will. I'll spend the 2 fatigue, and I'm going to change that out for the 1. So I'll get to go first. His range is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I do have range to the Nocturgia. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot that 4 times and see what I can do here. So first shot is a 15 at +2. I missed. Second shot is a 9 at -2. So it does hit. -2, its mitigation is also 2, and I'm doing 5 damage. So I'm going to do 1 damage to it. So it is at 9 now. So third shot is an 18 at +3. Oof. All right, so I am going to go ahead and re-roll that. I'm going to try to re-roll this. So I'm going to use my spirit, which is only a 6. So once per battle, after a failed attack or skill roll, a hero may perform a skill roll to, if the roll is successful, they may re-roll the failed attack or skill roll which they tried. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do a skill check. So it's a 6, and that fails as well. Okay, so then third shot is a 13 at -1, and final shot is a 3 at +1. So I'm going to do 6 damage. It mitigates 2, so I'm going to do 4. So it is down to 5 points. All right, that is my turn. So then it is going to activate. I was hoping to maybe bring it down, but not the case. All right, so it will take 1 wound for the bleed. And then it is going to try to use its ability first. It is going to use its ability, so its action causes 6 base damage plus knockdown. So let's see if it succeeds. It's a 10 at -2, so it does hit, and it is -2. And she's already done her mind, so she can't do that again. So she is going to be knocked down. It is going to do 6 minus the 2 for 4 damage. She mitigates everything but 1, so she does take 1, but she is going to suffer another affliction, which is a +3. So this time it is Seer's Anguish. Decreases the highest priority stats skill rolls by 2, cured by consuming purple mandrake. Highest primary skill or stats skill rolls by 2. So I think that's going to be my body. So it's going to affect that. So it's going, she's going to need 10s or less to score hits. So that's really bad news. And she needs to find some stuff to cure that. Oop, she was at 6. So she's going to go, she'll be last. All right, so the Rangora is up next. And the Nocturgia used its ability. So now the Rangora is a -1. So it's going to try to use its ability as well. And let's see if it hits. Is a 12 at -3. So it is going to hit. And it'll does 6 base damage. So -3 is going to be 3 damage. So she'll mitigate everything but 1 damage of it. So she is down to 11 points. All right, and then it is her turn, so she's going to stand up, and she'll go ahead and try to attack the Nocturgia with her sword first. It's a +3 at 9, so it is a success, and it's going to do 8 damage, minus the 2 for mitigation is 6, and that is going to finish it off. So the Nocturgia is out. All right, so I'll just remove that. Its bleed is gone. All right. That is her turn. She does have the shield bash, so I'll go ahead and try that real quick. And it's a 4, so I do hit the Rangora for 1. All right. And that is the end of the round, so we'll see what comes up next here. All right, so she draws a 1, so she'll be first. The Rangora is a 4. Wyrich is 11. All right, so Eldora is first, so she's going to attack. Is an 11 at -3, so she misses on that. So I could try the Spirit. Why not? I think it'll be worth it. So a 6 or less, and it's a 2, so I do get to re-roll that attack. And this time is a 10 at 2, so nice. It does turn the tide. So she's going to do 5, 6, 7 damage, and it mitigates 3 of it. So it is going to take 4 damage. So it's down to 15, and then she does have the shield bash, which is a 14. It misses, and the sword attack does cause bleed. All right, that is her turn. So then it is over to the Rangora to go. It will attack her at +3 and 11. So it is a hit, and it does 7 damage to her. So she's going to mitigate 5 of it, so she'll take 2. So she's down to 9 hit points. And then it is over to Wyrich to go. And I think this is the 3rd round. So he does get 1 more set of 4 shots, I believe. And then that'll be it for him. So first one is a 9 at +3. So it is a success. And he normally does 5 damage, so that's 8 damage. And the Rangora mitigates 3 of it, so it's going to take 5. So it's down to 10. Second shot is a 3 at -2. So this time it does just 1 damage. So it'll be down to 9. Second shot, or third shot, is a +3 at 17. I missed. And final shot is an 8 at +1. So it's going to do 3 more. 1, 2, 3. All right, that is all of his stuff. So now he is out, and he'll just do regular attacks. New round, Eldora is 11. The Rangora is a 8. And Wyrich is a 5. All right, I think I will spend the 2 fatigue with her and go first. I'll just take a 2. All right, and let's see what I can do if I can finish him off here. Her sword attack is an 11 at +3, so it's a miss, and her shield bash is an 18, so she misses all around. Oh, man. Okay, so then it is Wyrich to go next, so he's going to take 2 shots. His first one is a hit at -3, so it does 1 damage. And second shot is an 11 at -1, so it's another hit at 1 damage. All right, that is his turn. And then the Rangora is going to go on to her. It is a -3 at 5, so it is a hit, and we'll do 1 damage to her, so she's down to 8. And that is the end of that round. So new round. We're almost here. All right, Eldora is a 3. The Rangora gets a 6. And Wyrich is a 4. Okay. So Eldora is going to attack. Sword. 14 at -2 is a miss. And the shield bash is an 18. So she is not doing well. 4 misses. Okay. And then Wyrich. His first shot is a 3 at +1. So it is going to do damage. It's 5, so it's going to do 2. 1, 2. So it's down to 1 hit point left, or 2 hit points left. And his last shot is a -3 at 11, so it does hit and does 1 damage. So that is great. So that was just enough, as it's going to activate and suffer the bleed effect right away, which will eliminate it. So not terrible. I was able to make it out of there without too much damage. I'll be able to rest and hopefully be ready to go for my next adventure here. But there's some bonus stuff now. So with conclusion of this, the Nocturgia, gored and bloody, spreads its wings wide, and you ready yourself for another assault. But the creature tremors and falls to the ground, ending the grueling battle. Considerable more blood was splattered across the rock face, but as you look closer, you see what you thought was random splatter before is actually a hastily written run. Shern knew you'd come for him. He's trying to save you from whatever horror he's caught up in. You wonder if Sharif has a hideout here, stacked with lackeys. Why else would Shern not have turned back unless he was captured? You think of turning back yourself. After all, you made a point not to get close to anyone back at camp, but this is Shern and your only friend. You spot fresh Thunderhoof tracks, or Thunderhorn tracks, and continue on into the shadows. All right, and then as rewards, scattered below the Nocturgia's perch, there are several objects lying about. Each of the heroes in play may draw a card from the basic item stack, and the bonus reward, sort through and retrieve the Fine Hand Axe card from the treasured item stack, place the card in your backpack, or give it to another hero. So Eldara was the one that got that, so let me see here. Okay, Fine Hand Axe. This fine cutting weapon does 6 base damage, melee damage, or 5 damage when thrown, and it has a range of 4. So I'm definitely going to keep that for her, and I'll have that equipped over the sword, or I could even dual wield them, as they have the dual wield swords above them. So that's cool. And then each one of them also gets to draw a basic item. So she draws a torch, so this will hopefully be helpful for her. And with Ryrich, he has a longsword. This long cutting weapon does 8 base damage melee. So he'll probably want to trade that over to Eldara, and he may want to take the Fine Hand Axe. Even as a thrown weapon, that would be pretty handy to have. Well, my heroes were able to make it through that without too terribly much trouble. Eldara did take some decent damage, so hopefully during the rest process, she'll be able to regain most of that and be ready for the next adventure. I hope you found the video helpful in learning a little bit more about this and whether or not you want to back this one on Kickstarter. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please post those in the comment section below and I'll do my best to answer them. Or swing by the Kickstarter main page and drop any questions you have there in the comment section. I'm sure the creators love to hear from you and are more than happy to answer any questions you have. Until next time, I'll see you later.